We now have 60 days until the US presidential election, and today I'm going to be giving my latest update to the Electoral College map. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. And so, looking at the 2020 map, Joe Biden barely won the previous election with Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona by a combined 40,000 votes, being one of the most narrow victories in US presidential history. And so now going into 2024, Donald Trump has a higher approval rating than ever before, and Kamala Harris is about 10 points more unpopular than what she was in 2020 when she was hovering at around what the approval that Joe Biden was. And so going into this election, the media and the expert pundits claim that this is a competitive race. However, based on my own analysis, Donald Trump seems to be taking this in the bag. So, looking at the safe Republican states, we have Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska except the 2nd Congressional District, as well as Kansas, Oklahoma, Alaska, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and Missouri, as well as Iowa and Ohio. Iowa and Ohio have now been added into this safe column because they are trending to the right, and the white working class vote is especially growing for Donald Trump and the Republican Party. South Carolina will also be in this column as well. Iowa and Ohio were about 8-point victories each back in the previous cycle, so them being over 15-point margins would be pretty impressive. Currently, according to my forecast at onpointpolitics.com, where Donald Trump has a 69% odds of being the next president. When we're looking at Iowa, Donald Trump has about an 84% chance to win it, and 83% in the state of Ohio. Donald Trump is winning both of these states by over 15 points as of right now. I believe Iowa's about 16 points and Ohio's about 15. So Donald Trump is putting up a pretty strong performance in these states. Now, looking at the state of Texas, my latest forecast does have the state very, very close to a 15-point win. It is right below. It's around a 14.5-point victory in this forecast as of right now, as well as the state of Florida being around a 12-point victory for the former president, around 11 points, 12 points in this forecast, 75% odds to win the state of Florida. And so Donald Trump with that has a very solid floor, as well as the main 2nd congressional district. Looking at the safe and some likely Democrat states, we have California, Washington, Oregon. The West Coast is still going to stay strong for Harris, but it is an underperformance from Joe Biden, considering that Harris is running under the demographic margins that Joe Biden is in the polling in 2020. And right now, Harris in the polling data in the crosstabs with whites, Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, and other voters is underperforming what Joe Biden was at back in 2020. And so I expect her to underperform massively in the West Coast. Donald Trump will probably gain 3 points in the white vote and will gain with Hispanic and African American voters, which pushes the state of California to about just a 20-point win for Kamala Harris. Oregon and Washington, according to my forecast on my website, Washington will be right about just below the 15-point mark. Oregon about a 10-point and change sort of victory there. So these will be in the likely Democrat column. Colorado will also be in the likely Democrat column at just around almost 10 points for incumbent Vice President Kamala Harris. Hawaii will be in the safe Democrat column. Illinois will also be likely, as well as D.C., Maryland, Massachusetts, and Vermont being in the safe Democrat column. Those states don't really have any real odds of flipping to Donald Trump. And looking at the state of New York right now, Harris is actually up here by slightly over 15 points. So it is actually going to join the safe column in this forecast. And if we look at states like Connecticut, as well as Delaware and Rhode Island, some of these are really close to being safe. I actually think that they're about to be safe in the forecast. Very, very close, especially Rhode Island and Connecticut. New Jersey is exactly an 8-point win, however, which is way closer than the previous cycle where you can see Biden won the state by 16. So Kamala Harris is underperforming massively in some of these deep blue states, which is going to show a problem for her coming up in November. Looking at a state like New Jersey, Right now, Kamala Harris is right below the 70% odds of winning the state. Donald Trump has a 31% chance to win New Jersey. And Biden was actually in pretty bad shape to even lose the state potentially. Biden probably only had like a 55-60% chance to win the state, which seems like a lot, but at the end of the day, really isn't, considering that the state has not voted Republican on the presidential level ever since the 1988 presidential election, when Father Bush won the state by 14 points in his landslide victory against Michael Dukakis. And so looking at the map, we have sort of an expanded battleground map. My simulation basically shows that in all of the simulations that have above 50 counts out of the 1,000 that we run, these are sort of the toss-ups. Maine's first is going to be in the likely column, however, but essentially these states are the ones that are all up for grabs according to the simulations in an expanded battleground map. Starting off with the Sun Belt, state of Nevada is going to be in the likely Republican column. Polling does not reflect this, but again, my model does go based off a readjusted polling average in the state of Nevada when I reweigh all of the data by party. So that is something that we tend to focus on. And it actually is slightly below 5. It's literally like a 4.7, 4.8 percentage point win. So just about almost 5 points there. We see Donald Trump's got about a 62% chance to win the state. When you reweigh all the polling data, Donald Trump is up in the state by 4 to 5 points. The demographic model also has Donald Trump up by 3 to 4 points. And when you take the popular vote estimation we have and apply it to the trend map, we do get above a 5-point win. So when averaged out, this is the result you get. Arizona, Donald Trump is winning that state by a little bit over 6 points, possibly close to 7 points. So he is winning the state fairly easily. Maricopa County and a SoCal Strategies poll, the pollster that we sponsor, Donald Trump was ahead by 5. And when you apply that to Election Shuffler, looking at the shift from 2020, it goes from a tilt blue state to a 4.5-point win for Donald Trump if Maricopa were to be a 5-point win. And that's disregarding the rest of the state. So a 6 to 7 point victory very well could be on the table for all we know. Looking at the state of New Mexico, that state is going to be somewhat competitive, more than what people think it is. Harris has about a 56% chance to win the state, and it is around roughly a 3 and change point victory for Kamala Harris. Presumably, the Albuquerque area with their light white liberals are making the state a little bit more to the left than what it should be, especially since Hispanics have been moving to the right quite substantially since 2016. Looking at Georgia, this is a state that, election Twitter says, oh, it's super competitive, but based out of the demographic modeling and the readjusted polling data we've gone through, Donald Trump is actually very easily winning the state by a little bit over 6 points, outperforming his 2016 performance. Atlanta, more than likely, Harris will probably not have the black turnout that she will need to win, even be competitive in the state. And right now, about 88,000 mail-in request ballots were the last number we got in terms of how many were requested. About 266,000 were counted in 2016. So clearly, even though COVID had a lot more, it is still an underperformance from the 2016 numbers. North Carolina is a super easy victory as well. It is going to be around a 6.5 point victory, almost 8 points. It's around a 7-point margin when you do the math here. And so the former president is basically on the brink of 270 electoral votes. And Mark Halpern, which predicted the Joe Biden dropout and got basically most of the details correct, he is suggesting, based on Democrat sources that he's talked to, that they are very not confident in Harris winning Pennsylvania, to the point where it's actually next to North Carolina in terms of the states that they think are going to flip to Donald Trump, which is crazy that they think that Pennsylvania is just as easy to go red as North Carolina is. That is pretty insane. However, looking at my margin here, it does actually show around a 4.5 point victory for Donald Trump in the state of Pennsylvania. So that may kind of match up what we have in North Carolina. Looking at Virginia, this is a very tight race as well. One of the toss-up races. Again, a 3.5, 3 and change point victory based on the math there. That Nova area with all those government workers is probably going to keep the state a blue state. However, Donald Trump will probably do a lot better in the mountain region of Virginia as well, especially along the border of Kentucky and West Virginia. And so now looking at Michigan, a toss-up state. is around a 3-point victory for the former president, putting him above 300 electoral votes. And Wisconsin right now, according to the reweighed polling data, is above a 5-point victory, as well as looking at the demographic model and the trend plus popular vote margin model. This is what we get for Wisconsin, a little bit over a 5-point victory, which brings Donald Trump to 312 electoral votes, and kind of it helps him expand the map into some of these deep blue states that Joe Biden won by over 6 points. Looking at Minnesota, again, it's about a 2-point victory-ish. She's going to probably hold up well in Hennepin County, but Donald Trump will perform a lot better in the iron range 100%. Looking at Nebraska second, we have a very competitive race, but Harris is expected to nearly hold on in that Nebraska second congressional district. And looking at New Hampshire, it is around a point victory in the state, a little bit over a point. So it is one of the closer blue states on the map. In Maine being the final state is really close to being a 4-point win. It's actually Harris's best lean blue state on the map as of right now. And so the former president is winning 312 electoral college votes to Harris's 226. And this is where he was before the debate, according to most experts. Me and Gold Crown Politics already knew that Joe Biden was losing badly, and everybody seemed to believe that he went from being competitive to being dead on arrival. But me and Gold Crown already knew he was going to be dead on arrival based on looking at job approval ratings, looking at historical trends and whatnot, and the fact that Biden was basically mentally incapacitated and that his job approval rating was below 40. We knew that he was going to get shellacked and lose all of the lean blue states effectively. We basically saw that coming. The only thing that the debate really changed was New Jersey and New York potentially being competitive in Colorado. That's what the debate really did. It didn't make him competitive in Minnesota, Virginia, New Hampshire, any of those states. It actually made New Jersey, New York, and Colorado closer. People seem to not realize that. Now that Kamala Harris has kind of picked up some undecided voters, it did help her out in some of these lean blue states, but not by enough to catch up in the Rust Belt or even in some of the Sun Belt states. And Nevada could very well be over a 5-point win come November. And so if you guys want more honest, transparent, and accurate analysis of the United States election, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. Make sure to go to onpointpolitics.com. I am updating these odds as much as possible. Donald Trump right now is at about a 70% odd when you round up to win the presidency. And so I will see you guys in the next video.